Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of GC Antics. I'm Colin,
I'm Griffin.
and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Legend of Zelda, the evolution of Link. Not to mention the new game Hyrule Warriors that's coming out for the Wii U. I know everybody's excited about that. Also going to be touching a bit on what makes a good video game. So starting off the day with The Legend of Zelda for the Wii U, talking about Hyrule Warriors. Haven't seen too much about it. Obviously, only seen gameplay so far. Griffin, I don't know how much you've seen of it, but
I haven't seen much. I mean, we can expect it to be good, obviously. Most Zelda games are, except for a couple that were made by an alternative company a few years back.
Yeah, we don't talk about the CDI ones.
Those beautifully animated cutscenes.
Those were quality.
Oh, yes.
The definition of quality. But in all seriousness, the new game coming out does look great from what I've seen. Obviously, a lot of new characters introduced.
Because of that, we thought we'd talk about the history of Legend of Zelda and Link as a character.
Yeah, found an article the other day about the evolution of Link and thought we would do our own rendition and see what you guys think. As you see, there will be a picture posted that Griffin was so kind to put up.
Right now. You can see the picture. If you're listening on YouTube, you can see the picture right now.
Yeah, if you're listening, you probably... I guess you won't be able to see it, but...
No, if you're on the website or SoundCloud, you're screwed.
Yeah, but that's a personal problem, so go check out the YouTube video.
Yes.
In 1986, the very first Legend of Zelda game came out, which, of course, was just called The Legend of Zelda, which introduced us to a world of Hyrule in 8-bit form, followed by an 8-bit Link.
Some people regard it as one of the best video games ever made. I mean, I haven't played it personally.
Have or haven't?
Haven't.
Okay. Yeah. I grew up playing this game. Obviously, I wasn't born in 1986, but
no.
My parents were, and they were, they had the NES, and we had it in our house, and I'd come home from school every day and play this game, and it really was great, especially growing up with it.
See, my first game system was, console system was the GameCube.
Okay, yeah, so that's a little more, and we'll get into Zelda and the GameCube edition later on, but yeah. So yeah, not much else to talk about other than you can see the little sprite we have of Link. Quite a huge difference from the 8-bit Link into the next game, which was introduced in 1987, The Legend of Zelda 2. Link takes on a little more of a...
innovative name there.
Yeah,
Legend of Zelda 2.
Yeah. Hey, they had to go somewhere with it, right? No, but Link took on a more human form, in my opinion.
What was he before?
Well, he was just an 8-bit little dog before. Yeah.
Okay.
With a little stick for a shield. I don't know. But yeah, so obviously you can distinguish that it's a person a little more.
What I find interesting is the 1993 version of they went from color to black and white. I mean, they're going to that's the Game Boy version, so you can understand, but it just looks a little weird in the lineup.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't really fit in.
They just got rid of color for one of them.
Yeah, he went back to almost being kind of like the 8-bit version of himself that he was before.
Yeah, but then 5 years later, the 1998 game, which one is that, Colin? I'm not well versed in these games.
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, which another one that people regard as probably the best Zelda game ever.
The polls tell us that people love that game probably the most out of all of them.
That one's the first one where you see Link in a 3D form.
Yes, yeah. And we talked about the transition from 86 to 87, but when we talk about the transition from 93 to 98, obviously there's a 5-year difference, not just 1 year, but really they put a lot of effort in, and you can see what they came out with, and the result was amazing.
A big step. And then, of course, you jump to that 2006 version where it's, really stylized.
Yeah, Majora's Mask, yeah.
But one of the greatest things about the Legend of Zelda franchise right from the beginning is the fact that it was basically the founder of free-roaming RPG games, at least in, fantasy environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Which basically paved the way for types of games that I really enjoy, like Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like the few of you that may know me probably know that I'm a huge Skyrim fan.
Yeah. And we'll get to Skyrim eventually. But on that point, I agree what you were saying. And yeah, obviously, The Legend of Zelda was, in my opinion, the first RPG that was really a big deal. Really, it paved the way for other RPGs, like Griffin mentioned, Skyrim. Having never personally played Final Fantasy, people say that they enjoyed that too. I don't know how to distinguish if that's a big deal or not.
We should talk to Amanda if we want to find
Yeah.
out about Final Fantasy. Our friend Amanda.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amanda.
Shout out to Amanda. Perfect. I love it.
Oh.
No, but in a world of video games, when it started off where you had Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Super Mario and Duck Hunt. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, really sort of one-dimensional, one-target games.
yeah, all fun games, but not an RPG style like Zelda. Zelda gave you the option of not just action and adventure, but to customize weapons, to get new weapons, to explore new caves, dungeons.
To go wherever you want.
Yeah, free roaming, mostly. For that time, as free roaming as it got. Finishing up on our Zelda topic, 2003 saw a new and introduced Link in Wind Waker. They obviously went back and did more of a cartoon version. Actually, the entire game was more cartoonish, nonetheless humorous though, and nonetheless enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to 2006, we got Twilight Princess, and after that, 2011, which you can't see on the page, but it was Skyward Sword. For those of you who have played Twilight Princess, obviously a bit of controversy, probably the most controversial Zelda game because of it being the only Zelda game rated T for teen, obviously, and the darker nature that it took on. But still, in my opinion, probably my favorite Zelda game. But for some people, maybe not, because Zelda was targeted for our parents and their kids and our kids, right? So
Different generations, really.
yeah, so a darker tone may not be for everyone, but still a classic and still great on the GameCube or the Wii, whatever you want to play it on.
But transitioning away from Zelda, we mentioned Skyrim before,
Yes.
which you know I would love to talk about.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty sure that Skyrim is probably my favorite game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people might not like it. Yeah, there's things that may not be exactly right with it or could have been better, but it's just so great.
Well, yeah, it is great. I mean, talking about RPG earlier and what the Legend of Zelda was capable of doing, and then you see the transition through that style of RPG to Skyrim, obviously on a bigger scale since the first one came out.
Well, and Skyrim wasn't just like, they didn't just create Skyrim basically from scratch. There was several Elder Scrolls games, which is part of that series that came beforehand, led up to it. But the great thing about Skyrim is not only how it's a wonderful free roaming RPG, you can do whatever you want, is the incredible amount of back history and lore that's written for the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, they really
universe.
put a lot of effort into it, as much as Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Like, even more so in some cases. Like, when you... Because in the Elder Scrolls universe, there's, like, 10 races that you can play with in the game, and there's tons of history for all of those, and where they came from, and how they've interacted for the past several thousand years. Mm-hmm. It's just really quite expensive.
there's even in the game, there's even books you can read about the history of a species or of
that's
Tamriel.
another thing. There's endless books you can read in the game. Like, they actually made a point of putting those details in.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Obviously, when Skyrim came out, what was that, around 2010, 2011?
November 2011.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought, around the same time. Yeah, no other RPG really stood a chance. None stood up to it. Final Fantasy was blown away. Obviously, Skyward Sword came out the same year, but just can't compare to the level that Skyrim was at.
By now, the Zelda games are a little different than, like, Skyrim and Elder Scrolls.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not trying to compare two separate genres of games. Skyrim's also rated M, so it's hard to compare that to a game where Zelda, where it's not as violent or not as gruesome. For those of you that don't know Skyrim very well, you basically immerse yourself in the game as the Dragonborn, hero of Tamriel.
It's like a medieval fantasy setting.
Yeah. And like Griffin was saying, I think you got about 10 different races to choose from.
Yeah.
Basically puts you in the game.
And as per Elder Scrolls tradition, you always start out in the game as a prisoner.
Yes. And your name could be prisoner if you want, or you know.
If you accidentally hit the button and leave the character editor like we all did the first time.
Yes. Yeah, that was embarrassing. We don't talk about that either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, games nowadays, RPG, starting to make a bit of a resurgence. Obviously, for those of you who have played Dark Souls, which will bring a grudge from pretty much everyone, difficulty in that game's insane. Having personally played Dark Souls 2 a bit, well, we'll just say I've given it a break because I got a little frustrated. But really, that's a very good RPG game. Once again, at a different level, not for every gamer because of the extreme difficulty.
Uh-huh.
But once you get into it and once you complete whatever part you're struggling with or having issues with, the reward is just so satisfying.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Well.
Psychologically.
Yeah. But, you know, the free-roaming RPG it's a really great sort of idea and platform to build a game off of because there's just so much you can do if it's done well.
Yeah, and
there's no restriction.
Yeah, and the key word is role-playing. You're putting yourself in and immersing yourself in something that you can't do in real life, like wielding a sword, using magic, stuff like that.
Well, and being able to, after you've played the game for like hundreds of hours, still change what you're doing and continue enjoying it.
Yes.
Whereas
the replay value is huge.
Yeah. Whereas you play games like Mass Effect, which I'm also a huge fan of, I know you are too.
Yes.
They're really great games, but they are much more linear.
Yeah, and the replay value is not really there.
Not as good.
It's got a little more.
Types you can do, like Vanguard, Sentinel, which is basically just adjustments on your abilities.
Yeah,
but
it's not really a replay.
Yeah, it's the same
per
story.
Se. The Skyrim franchise, or Oblivion, or whatever you want to call it.
The Elder Scrolls franchise.
Yeah, the Elder Scrolls franchise took it a step further this year and introduced Elder Scrolls Online. Yes, Griffin, you have that.
I do. A lot of people don't like Elder Scrolls Online. They have some problems with it. There are a few things that could have been done better, like there's no player housing or things like that. But again, one of the huge values with it is that immense amount of backstory and lore with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to work with. And aside from sort of a main story that any players can experience, there's the basically war over Tamriel. There's these 3 alliances of races that are trying to take over the whole place and rule. And there's interesting conflicts between that. So in the single player quests you can deal with that, and then there's also the PvP stuff where you actually battle with other people to take other territories.
Yeah, so obviously a bit of a change from the original Skyrim or the 4th game Oblivion for that matter. Bit of a different mod there.
Kind of interesting, because like Elder Scrolls Online, there's a lot more area than in Skyrim, so the world isn't quite as rich or sandboxed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some other implements in Elder Scrolls Online that I wish were in Skyrim.
Like
much more expanded crafting
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's like in Skyrim you have blacksmithing basically for your all your weapons and armor.
Mm-hmm.
But in Elder Scrolls Online there's blacksmithing for like heavy armor and weapons.
Okay.
And there's woodworking for like bows and shields and staves. There's clothing, which is like light and medium armors. It's a lot more rich.
Yeah, well, I think the huge addition is the whole MMO aspect of Elder Scrolls Online. I think that's what people were looking forward to. I think that's what people got.
Yeah, and I got into the actual MMO PvP stuff a little while ago, and I was pleasantly surprised at some of the mechanics. Because it's not just going out and fighting people. There's like siege weapons and other types of things to take and defend keeps and different castles.
Yeah. Yeah, having not played Elder Scrolls Online, just watching you play seems interesting.
It is expensive, as MMOs go. I mean, because there's the upfront cost of buying the game, which is either $60 or $80, depending on what version, and then it's like $15 a month.
Yeah.
So pretty expensive. But if you're really into Elder Scrolls, I'd say it's worth it.
It's the game for you.
So, Colin, you haven't played Elder Scrolls Online, but you have played The Last of Us,
have I ever?
Another very popular game. I haven't played this one.
Yeah. So a bit about The Last of Us. For those of you who haven't played it, you've most likely heard about it. Obviously a huge craze about half a year ago.
Yeah.
Came out a little before that, but really gained international recognition. Going to be making a movie about it coming 2015, 2016 most likely.
Yeah.
But the game itself is, in my opinion, the best game I've ever played. Those of you who have played it will probably attest to that.
One of those games that has really rich storyline.
Oh yeah, the storyline makes the game. It's almost at some points, some people argue like it's watching a movie at some points instead of playing the game, but
Well, it's Last of Us is an example of the advantages of having a single linear storyline. Is you can have a lot more character development.
Yeah, put a lot of effort into it and make a beautiful game like it.
Yeah, it's more like an art piece almost. I mean, instead of working with like a movie platform, it's a video game platform.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's almost like they took an Oscar-winning movie, put it in a video game platform.
Well, who knows? It might become an Oscar-winning movie.
I sure hope so. But for those of you who aren't familiar, obviously The Last of Us is set in a post-apocalyptic world with the infected, which is what you're fighting against during the game, which pretty much are like zombies, but really are more than that once you get into the game. But the most dangerous people in the game are the other humans, never mind the infected, because the humans can think for themselves, obviously, and survival of the fittest, so to speak, takes over.
Damn humans always causing problems.
Yeah, well, you know.
What a pest.
Yeah. No, but really, The Last of Us, like I said, in my opinion, one of the greatest games ever made. And you can agree or disagree with that. I'd like to hear your feedback in the comments section about that.
Yeah, this is a dangerous question. What do you prefer, The Last of Us or Skyrim?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you guys can argue over that. But with The Last of Us was really an age of defining what a great video game was. Yeah. And it started with The Last of Us. BioShock Infinite was obviously another big deal.
Yeah.
Having played that, have you played that?
No, I've played a little bit of the first BioShock.
Okay, well BioShock Infinite was equally as good, but for different reasons.
Amanda's played that.
Yeah, good storyline.
Shout out number 2 to Amanda.
Shout out number 2, yeah. But what The Last of Us does well, other than the great storyline, is really it gets in tune with the player. Obviously, it's not as much of an RPG where you're not really role-playing as yourself. You can't put your name in as the protagonist.
Yeah.
But the game itself is just beautiful. The graphics, and it really fully immerses you.
It's a PlayStation exclusive, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's another plus.
Yeah, that's always
Sorry
nice.
to any Xbox fans out there.
Yeah. Hey, well, they got some stuff. They got like Halo and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, but Halo doesn't compare to Last of Us.
No.
They're different types of games, but I'd rather play The Last of Us.
Oh, for sure. Once again, sorry if I offended any Xbox fans, but maybe it's time to switch.
Back to BioShock, though. It's obviously another well-known, very good game.
Yeah, well-known franchise.
Exciting news with that recently is that BioShock came to iOS, so iPhones and iPads.
Did it?
Recently. Yes. It's gotten mixed reviews. It's kind of difficult to port a huge game like that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's good to have really big games like that on
Especially
iOS.
a shooter, really touchy to
Yeah.
import stuff like that.
I wish they would have updated the graphics a little bit because it's not a new game. It was like 2007 when it came out.
Yeah.
But
another good iOS exclusive, if we're on the topic of iOS, is Infinity Blade.
Infinity Blade, one of my favorites. It's a fabulous example of the quality of games you can have on a phone, really.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, taking advantage of the iPhone's power for gaming and processing and everything like that.
Is that accessible through Android phones?
No,
Infinity Blade?
I don't think so.
Like I said earlier, for those of you that have Android phones, maybe it's time to switch.
Yeah.
you and the Xbox fans can have a party together.
No, but for those of you that don't know, Infinity Blade is, to describe it simply, is science fiction in disguise. It looks like a sort of fantasy world. There's sword fighting duels, but as you progress through the story, you find out there's some things happening behind the scene that are a little more advanced.
Sounds like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. No, but there's like sci-fi implements that work into it. It's
Yeah.
really beautifully done, even from the first one to Infinity Blade 3, the last one, they recently released an update called Kingdom Come, which sort of finishes off the story.
Okay.
So yeah, highly recommend that. I think it's the price has gone down too. It's only like $2 or $3.
Yeah,
for the third
probably.
one.
Speaking about Assassin's Creed, obviously a new movie coming out with that too.
Along with a new game
Yeah,
based in
Unity, right?
Yeah, Unity.
Yeah.
Based around the French Revolution.
Having played pretty much all the Assassin's Creed games except for 2 and Brotherhood.
I played Brotherhood.
Okay, so you know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But I went back a couple months ago, bought number 1, tried to see if I could work through that, even though it's an older game, because I wanted to get the story. And I played 1 for about 20 minutes, and I kind of fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then, no offense, I'm sure at the time the game was great, but having personally owned Black Flag, which those of you who are diehard video game fans know that was Adventure Game of the Year.
Uh-huh. Well,
just great game.
Yeah, the first Assassin's Creed is not one that's going to hold up well over time.
No.
It's no Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's no Pac-Man, yeah.
Like it or not, Pac-Man is still fun.
Yeah. And what I loved about Black Flag is, for the longest time, I think gamers were waiting for a pirate-based game that really blew them out of the water. No pun intended. No, but really, there's Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously award-winning movies, great movies, but there was nothing else in media that really got us excited about pirates.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad the first sort of great pirate game didn't come from a Pirates of the Caribbean game.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, movies don't usually translate well into video games.
No, and vice versa, there's not usually too much success.
Yeah, I mean, that's why things like, Mass Effect and Elder Scrolls and others are so amazing, is they're built specifically for video games.
One of a kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just take those and make a movie. Last of Us is a little different.
Yeah, because like we were saying earlier, it's kind of like a movie within a game almost at some points.
Yeah. It's not like Mass Effect where there's, big shootout scenes and everything. That
Yeah.
would be really tedious in a movie.
Yeah, it would. Because it's been done before.
Yeah.
A bunch. That's what the 80s was made up of.
Just shootout scenes.
Pretty much.
Terminator.
You've seen, yeah, Rambo, Terminator, stuff like that.
Yeah, the whole 80s was just Rambo and Terminator. That's what it was called.
That's all I remember from it.
Yeah, you remember the 80s.
Quite well.
Good.
I remember Phil Collins.
Good.
That's about it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the 80s. Well, I'm sure my parents know more about the 80s than I do, but
I would think so.
yeah, probably. But anyways, Pirates of the Caribbean 5 coming out soon.
Really? Why? Oh.
Tell us why you're so excited about it. Really, don't sugarcoat it. I want to know why you're so excited.
Well, in my opinion, I think the Pirates of the Caribbean movies should have stopped at 3.
Yeah, no, I agree as well.
The third one, At World's End, is maybe my favorite, which, it's not common to have one of the sequels as a favorite.
Yeah.
4 was interesting. It wasn't as good. It really didn't need to be made.
No, it was like a filler.
I mean, we all love Jack Sparrow, but it's getting a little tired.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved Jack Sparrow a little less in part 4, so. Yeah.
And what's even going to happen with part 5? I mean, they've already found the Fountain of Youth. What do you do after that?
Disneyland.
Disneyland.
They're gonna go to Disneyland.
They're already in Disneyland.
That's where everything happens.
They're gonna tie in the movies to the theme park ride.
Yeah. What is it, like the saddest place on earth?
Yeah. Being pirates started to go down in popularity. They weren't making enough money, so
there's only the Somali pirates left. So
they went to Disneyland and opened a ride.
Yeah.
Movie's over. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's no need for part 5. I mean, franchise is done.
That'd be so great.
What, Disneyland or
no? Having that movie tie
because we've done Disneyland before. It is pretty great.
Oh, speaking of other sequels, have you heard about Jurassic Park 4?
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a rumor that it was going to be based years after, and they'd actually built a successful dinosaur park, and people were tired of it, kind of thing.
Well, I think this goes a long way in having faith in a director, a trusted director. I think this is what really separates a good director from a great one, or even a mediocre one from a superb one. Having faith in the director's choices, what they're going to do. Sometimes you may not agree at first.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may end well, maybe not end as well some other times.
Like that Indiana Jones 4 that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, the Crystal Skull. Hey, Shia LaBeouf. I mean Sam Witwicky.
Sam Witwicky.
I loved him in that. That was great. He didn't even have a major part. He was just kind of there.
Didn't need him.
Harrison Ford's too old.
Yeah.
No offense to Harrison Ford if he's watching this, but
And like we said last episode, he's probably in Star Wars Episode 7. However that's going to play out.
broken ankle and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Han Solo with back problems.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Not that it's fun to make fun of the elderly.
No.
I didn't say that, so don't
Especially
use that
not
against
Harrison
me.
Ford.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We should get him as a guest on the show.
That would be great. We could do like an Ellen-esque kind of thing. We could do dances and
Dances?
but I don't really dance.
You do the dances.
Yeah,
Even though you don't dance.
I don't dance well.
You don't dance well, I don't dance at all. So
Fair enough.
the dancing falls on you, my friend.
Okay. Well, hope you enjoyed episode 3. Obviously, feedback is welcomed.
Surely we've opened your mind to the wonderful world of video games.
And Harrison Ford.
Yeah. The wonderful world of Harrison Ford, yes.
I wonder what goes on in his mind.
He experiences it every day. All day, every day.
What a scary thought.
Once again, your feedback and support's always appreciated. If you have any suggestions for topics, we appreciate that as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Giving a lot of shout-outs to Amanda today. But Alex Johnson, who has been a huge supporter of us, has given us lots of criteria to work from, which we used in our last episode, of course.
Hopefully you like that one. It's a big step up from episode 1. We went to a full half-hour length. I think it was 35 minutes.
Yeah, 36 minutes, I think, something like that. So make sure you check that out. I do the whole spiel of the click the like and subscribe button, but we're trying to be different, and that's boring.
And not incredibly annoying.
Yeah, that's... You know us, we're not annoying, so...
I mean, if you're already annoyed by us, you probably haven't listened up to this point. So.
Yeah. And if you've already clicked the view button and you only listened to a minute of us and you were tired of what we were saying, well, joke's on you, because that's one more view for us.
All you care about is the views.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not the viewers.
Of course I care about the viewers, don't be silly.
Thanks again for watching, we appreciate it. I'm Griffin.
I'm Colin.
And this is GC Antics.